Infinite evolution, the void rises in the Marvel Universe. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 61. But although Sonia was frightened, she didn't show anything unusual. Cassidon is the guest she will serve exclusively for the next month, if the other party feels offended. With the Nova Corps around, she won't die because of this, but her life may be difficult in the next month. It's just that Sonia's breathing became slightly and slowly involuntarily, and she tried her best to adjust her mentality. As long as you do what you should do in your duties, I won't blame you for trivial matters. So you don't have to be so nervous. Harvey was eating delicious food, looked up at the nervous Sonia, and said, "Okay, Mr. Cassidon." Sonia was told the truth, took a deep breath, calmed down, and said. To this, Harvey didn't respond but just quietly wiped out the food in front of him. Sonia watched helplessly. In just a few minutes, the large table of food disappeared quickly under Mr. Cassidon's elegant movements, and the speed was too fast for her to understand. "Go get me food for the next 150. Harvey picked up the wine that Sonia had just poured, and said, "Please wait." Sonia came back to her senses after hearing these words, looked at the clean plate, and quickly packed it up. "In the next month, you seem to be serving me. So there are some things I need to explain to you first. I don't have any special hobbies, I just like to eat, and I eat an average of 4 to 5 meals a day. I need food for at least 200 people for each meal. However, I have to go out sometimes, and I don't eat on time every day. So only every time I call you, you have to prepare food for me. As long as this is done well, I won't intentionally embarrass you for the rest of the time." Seeing Sonia's clean movements, Harvey spoke. Sonia heard that he ate so much in a day, and glanced at Cassidon, who didn't look fat at all, and wondered how the other party kept his figure. But Sonia knew that these words should not be said casually, so she responded respectfully, "Okay, I will keep your reminder in mind." Immediately, Sonia finished clearing the dishes and continued to prepare food. It seems that there is a person who helps prepare food, it seems to be a lot more convenient. Harvey looked at the clean table, took a sip of the wine, thoughtful. When he was in New York, he didn't think about finding someone to serve him because he was worried that it would cause some trouble in Blue Star. But now that he is in the universe, on Xander, and is active as Cassidon, he can consider finding someone who can handle affairs quickly to handle some trivial matters for him. However, in order to accumulate his popularity, he has to perform many bounty tasks. Find a good person to take care of some daily chores for him, and he will think about it when he decides which planet to live on for a long time. But now that he lives directly in a celebrity hotel, there are still people who can serve him, so he can deal with it first. And Sonia sighed when pushing the cart to the food area. I changed to a larger trolley, looked at the dazzling array of food in the food area, and began to choose carefully. Mr. Cassidon said that he has no special hobbies, he just likes to eat. So letting the other party have a better dining experience can be said to be a problem that she needs to consider at present. "Sonia, don't I remember one of the guests you are in charge of? So much food is eaten up so quickly? And it looks like you're going to keep sending them?" The chef in charge of cooking said something strange after seeing Sonia. "It's a person, but the interest of the customer I'm in charge of is that he likes to eat and has a good appetite." Sonia froze when she heard this, and when she turned around, a professional smile appeared on her face. Regardless of whether she felt that Mr. Cassidon's appetite was outrageous or not, she couldn't casually talk about it with other colleagues. The water in the workplace is very deep. Sometimes because of temporary complaints or careless words, people may take advantage of them and suffer directly. If it is serious, they may lose the job directly. It's a good thing to have a good appetite. If you are willing to continue eating, it means that the food I cook should also suit his appetite. After the chef heard it, a smile appeared on his honest face. "That's right, the guests I serve seem to be very satisfied with your cooking. The guest is waiting, I'll quickly pick it up for him and send it up." Seeing the happy look of the chef, Sonia said something against her will. Fortunately, there are many chefs in the celebrity hotel. There are 50 chefs in charge every day, and the 7 days are an alternation, so there is no need to work continuously. Otherwise, if the other party knows that Mr. Cassidon alone may eat food for 800 to 1,000 people a day, the other party may not be happy. You must know that even if the celebrity hotel is full, there are only 1,000 guests, and most of them are just tasting and not eating too much. So every month the chefs have to work on the day of the masquerade party. In the next month, as long as these chefs see it, there is a high probability that they will have doubts and complaints in private. So the moment of being able to be friendly with her may be limited to today. Sonia didn't want to do this either, but what could she do? Well, then hurry up and send it up, don't make the guests wait. The honest chef smiled even more when he heard this. As a chef, apart from being promoted and getting a salary increase, there is nothing more satisfying than being praised for the deliciousness of your cooking. Most of the people who can stay in celebrity hotels are big shots. The praise of these big shots is the affirmation of their cooking skills. I think so too. Sonia responded with a smile when she heard the words, while picking out food quickly. The chef saw Sonia picking out the food quickly and piling up a large pile of food, which was enough to feed at least 50 people, and his eyes were a little weird. And having already taken so many servings of food, Sonia's movements have not stopped. After filling a large cart, Sonia went to pull 2 large carts. With this kind of behavior, the chef couldn't calm down anymore. Is this much food for one person? He believed that the above was holding a party. And not only the chef, but other chefs also looked at Sonia. Sonia felt the gaze coming from all directions, so she picked up the speed of taking it, and when she pushed it away from the food area, a few soft words came. Sonia, don't blame me for talking too much. You have been here for many years. You can't do some things casually. If the higher-ups find out that you are secretly eating food, you will be deducted from your wages. A chef standing at the door of the food area reminded in a low voice. Thank you for your reminder, but I still know the rules. I will deliver the food first. Sonia felt a little helpless when she heard this sentence, but she didn't know how to explain it, so she could only deal with it casually, and left with a few dining cars. Episode 62, Unrealized Fantasy. After Harvey waited for less than 10 minutes, Sonia had already delivered the food. This efficiency is several times faster than when he went out to eat at Blue Star and ordered takeaway by himself, which made Harvey very satisfied. Sonia placed the food on the table again. Harvey didn't say much and started to eat. A lot of food was something he had never eaten before, and it seemed that he would enjoy it in the next month. Sonia saw that Mr. Cassidy didn't say anything to comment, but continued to eat without saying a word, just took the empty plate and put new food on it. The food for 150 people, in just half an hour, was all in Mr. Cassidy's stomach. And the movement of eating is so elegant that Sonia is a little curious about the identity of Mr. Cassidy. But she knew that she was just a part-time worker, so she didn't ask rashly. Well, you can rest today too. Get ready for me at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Harvey took out a handkerchief and wiped his mouth, and said, Okay, Mr. Cassidy, if you need my help, you can find me. Sonia put the empty plates back into the cart, and upon hearing this instruction, a smile appeared on her face, and she left in response. She doesn't think she can sleep comfortably at night, because everyone who lives in a celebrity hotel is a guy who likes to manipulate others. But Sonia had taken care of more troublesome ones before, so it wasn't a big deal. After Sonia left, Harvey took a look at his evolution point, which has reached 2.16 million. After eating this meal, it directly increased 64,000 evolution points. Harvey directly chose to let the void skin evolve again, and a shadow of huge amounts of mantis appeared behind him, and the void skin had evolved 82 times. He discovered that the stronger his physical body, not only his life-saving ability was stronger, but those abilities he mastered could also get some boosts. After Harvey evolved, he walked into the bathroom and used the cosmic communicator while taking a bath, and started the task of eyeing and offering rewards. Now he doesn't need to hide, and can accumulate a lot of wealth in the shortest possible time. As for his reputation, as long as he completes it quickly enough, there will definitely be some butterfly effects. The value of the first-level bounty task is too low, and it will not increase the popularity if it is done, so Harvey directly ignores it and directly looks at the second-level and third-level bounty tasks. The second-level missions are indeed not close, and the nearest ones have been completed. The mission of the disaster in the desert is caused by too many people wanting to take it, but no one has completed it. Harvey clicked a few times, and selected the task type as disaster removal, and the minimum reward amount was 4.5 million. Removing disasters can not only make money, but also some can be eaten, so Harvey plans to do these disaster-type reward tasks first. Harvey chose for a while, and finally chose to do a third-level reward offering mission to exterminate the alien mother bug, and the amount reached 20 million. This mission also has a long-term mission with a first-level reward, supporting the defense against the attack of the insect nest, and you can get 10,000 every day. But Harvey just glanced at it and didn't care. He walked out of the bathroom and went straight to sleep. If normal people come to other planets in the universe for the first time, they may be excited or feel uneasy in a foreign country and cannot sleep. But Harvey closed his eyes and fell asleep directly. Because coming to the universe was something he had planned a long time ago, and he would not feel any uneasiness. Early the next morning, at 8 o'clock, Sonia delivered breakfast on time. She found that Mr. Cassidy really got up so early, and her beautiful eyes flashed with surprise. Regardless of whether it is a male guest or a female guest, most of those who live in celebrity hotels have a rich nightlife. Therefore, most of them sleep until noon or even afternoon and night, and there are relatively few guests who can maintain a normal and regular schedule. "Good morning, Mr. Cassidy." But Sonia quickly suppressed the surprise in her heart and said politely, "Good morning, Sonia." Harvey saw that Sonia brought breakfast on time, and nodded slightly when he heard the greeting. "Mr. Cassidy, do you have any plans for today? If you want to know more about celebrity hotels, I can take you around the public floors and introduce them to you." After placing all the exquisite breakfasts, Sonia stood 3 meters away and asked politely. If she can leave a good impression on the guests, it will not only improve her performance evaluation, but the next time the guests come to live here, there is a high probability that she will be named. "If I have nothing to do, I just walk around, but I still have things to do." Harvey stopped what he was doing when he heard Sonia's words, and spoke. "It's okay, you can tell me next time if you want to know more." Sonia didn't feel embarrassed at all when she heard the words, and said with a smile. She didn't have any idea of what Mr. Cassidy was going to do. Because you can make suggestions and inquire about your intentions, but you can't go deep into the privacy of guests, which is one of the principles of celebrity hotels. "After breakfast, I'm going out for a while. You can rest as much as you want without my instructions." Harvey saw that Sonia finished this sentence without asking himself more, and his eyes were a little appreciative. "Okay, I'll be on standby." Sonia once again heard the words that she could rest as much as she wanted. She didn't take it seriously, and said with a smile. When Harvey heard the formulaic answer, he didn't pay attention. After spending an hour eating, Harvey disappeared directly in front of Sonia. "Mr. Cassidy. Mr. Cassidy, are you still there?" Seeing Mr. Cassidy, Sonia disappeared as if invisible, and called a few times cautiously. But her words didn't get a response, as if Mr. Cassidy had already left here. Is it one of the 3 abilities of invisibility, wall penetration, and teleportation? This made Sonia whisper with both shock and envy in her eyes. Xander is often able to see people and things from other planets, so it is an enviable thing to have a super ability. Because having super abilities different from ordinary people means more choices, even leaving Xander to seek development on other planets. It's just that, except for some chosen people who are born with super abilities, Xander stars can only obtain super abilities by joining the Nova Corps. Sonia also imagined that if she also had a super ability, she doesn't need to be as tired as a dog every day for a monthly salary of 30,000 yuan, to be on call at any time within 24 hours, to speculate on the thoughts of customers, and to be careful about all her words and deeds. But that was just a fantasy of hers. She was not born with a super ability, and she had no hope of joining the Nova Corps. After Sonia cleaned up the dining table neatly, she left. Episode 63. Harvey, on the other hand, went directly to a green planet called Kilf Star, more than 1,200 light-years away from Xander Star. When Harvey arrived, he directly overlooked the general topography of the entire planet. It was found that there are 8 large-scale insect nests built on various volcanoes within a 10,000-mile area on this planet, and small and medium-sized insect nests are densely packed all over the ground. The dense red-skinned ugly bugs are doing their work in an orderly manner like ants. Near the various large insect nests, there are strong fronts and a large number of troops stationed, and there are some strangely dressed people resting. Harvey saw these people think for a while, and probably knew that these people were offering first-level rewards. But at this moment, Harvey noticed a huge scarlet worm, stretching out its tentacles and rooting deep in the ground, absorbing the energy of the magma. The bloated and disgusting belly of this red giant worm can also emit light, and there are black shadows in the light, apparently hatching one after another Zerg larvae. 8 large worm nests occupy various positions in Wanli, and are built around the position of the big worm in an irregular shape. Obviously, this big bug that is located in the center of the Earth and absorbs magma energy is the target of his trip. This thing is located deep in the center of the Earth, and it is indeed not so easy to handle it by normal means. It's not that Harvey can't do it, but he thinks it's necessary to talk to the person who posted the reward about increasing the money. If you don't restrain it, if you kill this worm queen, it will only give birth to more and more worms. So a void black hole appeared under Harvey's feet, and instantly appeared in front of a military camp. Most of the people on this planet are green-skinned, and they look a bit like the Namekians in Dragon Ball that they have seen in previous lives. Harvey's appearance instantly caused other people in the barracks to raise their guns and make neat swishing sounds, and the atmosphere of the entire barracks was filled with a sense of murder. A green-skinned man with a scar on his face, seeing Harvey's appearance, stretched out his hand to calm them down. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" Then he looked at the unknown visitor wearing gold armor and asked. "My name is Cassidon, and I have accepted the reward for killing the insect mother. However, I found that the reward of 20 million is a little bit less, so I want to increase the money. You find someone who has the right to speak and talk to me." Harvey heard the words and explained his purpose. "Cassidon, right? My name is the head of the military camp in Brighton. You can receive a third-level bounty, which means you are at least a second-level bounty hunter. I admire you secondary bounty hunters, because it means that you all have abilities that are different from ordinary people. However, let me tell you, you are not the only second-level bounty hunter who took on the task of killing the insect mother. But most of them have not been fighting here for a long time, and they all went back disheartened with their tails between their legs. Hope you're not like them." The green-skinned man with shocking scars on his face, wearing a military uniform with some medals on his chest, and exuding a ferocious aura, spoke. "They have nothing to do with me. As long as you add more money, I can help you kill the worm mother." Harvey heard some sarcasm in Brighton's words, and said without paying attention. Harvey's words immediately made everyone around the barracks laugh out loud. "Don't blame me for not reminding you. Many people have asked us for higher pay, but none of them have succeeded. Because that damn worm mother is somewhere underground. And the underground is the lair of those bugs, and many people have been eaten by bugs. As long as you can really solve the bug mother, don't say that 20 million is 50 million, 100 million, or even more, as long as you say we can satisfy you." Brighton couldn't help laughing when he heard the arrogant words of this man named Cassidon. Harvey originally wanted to mention 30 to 40 million, because this task is actually not difficult for him. It's just that he judged the situation on this planet, knew the reward of this mission, and had a higher chance of talking about it, so he planned to chat with the other party to make more money at once. Unexpectedly, the other party actively mentioned a higher price instead. The difficulty of this task is not that high, so there is no need for more requirements, and a reward of 100 million will do. Remember what you said, I don't like people breaking contracts. Hearing this, Harvey glanced around and said in a cold voice. The people around were caught by this glance, and felt as if they were being stared at by a terrifying creature, and all the cells in their bodies were trembling. Immediately, under the watchful eyes of many people, Harvey disappeared directly. In the next second, there was a terrifying sonic boom in the sky, and the cumulus clouds in the sky were instantly blown away. A shockwave visible to the naked eye appeared in the sky. Although the distance was too high, it still caused some glass in the barracks to shatter with a bang. Many people present received some shocks, and their bodies were directly thrown out, throwing all kinds of meat and ate elements. However, they are all experienced soldiers. Even though it happened suddenly, they still tried their best to protect themselves. What the hell is that? The soldier who was still laughing just now, at the moment looked at the cloudless sky that he hadn't seen in a long time, and said with a strange expression on his face. Others in the barracks were terrified when they saw this inhuman force. They have seen many bounty hunters, and they have also seen super ability users who break through the speed of sound. However, the speed of that super ability user just broke through the speed of sound, and the destructive power brought by breaking the sound barrier is not so terrifying. The most important thing is that the superhuman cannot fly, but this bounty hunter who calls himself Cassidon can not only fly, but also has a terrifying speed. If Shockwave hadn't been blasted at such a high place to set off the sound barrier, but had been set off directly in front of them, all of them would probably be torn to pieces by Shockwave. Brighton remembered what Cassidon said just now. If the other party really killed the queen, even if he took out his own treasury, he would have to make up the money to the other party. As long as the other party can really kill, but he doesn't have much hope. Immediately, a slight tremor came from under his feet, and countless broken stones shook like a precursor to disaster. Brighton's face changed suddenly, and he said loudly, "Damn, that guy used an energy weapon? Hurry up and get on the battleship." The soldiers felt the vibration on the ground, and their faces changed suddenly, and they quickly ran to the transport warship in the barracks. In less than a few tens of seconds, they all withdrew to the battleship. Damn. Didn't that guy carefully read the mission requirements of the reward? Standing in the command room of the battleship, Brighton saw the vibrating ground with some cracks through the instrument. His face was livid. They have fought against the alien Zerg for many years, but because the Zerg's lair is stationed in an extinct volcano. Therefore, they cannot use large-scale energy weapons, otherwise, if the volcano explodes, the surrounding volcanoes may erupt together, and the environment of the entire planet will undergo drastic changes. Otherwise, with their technology, it would not be difficult to directly destroy those lairs. But it was because they could not use large weapons and could only fight head-to-head, so it took them so many years to pay an unknown amount of money, and an unknown number of companions were killed or injured. Ask for tickets, ask for further reading, ask for investment, please. Episode 64, The World-Destroying Giant Worm. I have long asked the commander to revoke the bounty mission. These goddamn bounty hunters are all megalomaniacs. An officer beside Brighton also had a livid face. He has always looked down on bounty hunters, and he admits that those who can become second-level bounty hunters have special skills. With super ability, they can do things that they can't do. But it is also because of their super ability that they are extremely confident in their own strength, so most of them are arrogant, undisciplined, and do things regardless of the consequences. Some foolishly think that they can solve everything, step directly into the crater, and become the rations of the Zerg. Leaving aside these for the time being, the most important thing in this officer's opinion is that these bounty hunters from aliens don't care about the situation on Keelf at all. If the volcano blows up, I'll kill him no matter what the price. When Brighton heard what the officer beside him said, at the moment he was also very angry. But he knew that with them, it would be very difficult to kill that Kassadin directly. The other party may simply commit a crime and flee without meeting them at all. So he already has intentions. If the other party really messes things up, he will pay a big price for other bounty hunters to hunt down Kassadin. As they talked, the shaking of the earth became more and more terrifying. The soldiers in the other barracks didn't know what happened, but they all ran to the battleship to take refuge first. They watched the earth shake, shocking cracks appeared on the ground, some had bloodshot eyes with anger, some despaired, and some showed expressions of relief. Faced with these damned bugs here for many years, the spirits of many soldiers present have already collapsed into a string, and they may break at any time. I don't know what happened now. There was a violent earthquake, and under the impact of this earthquake, the crater may burst directly. One by one, watching the position of the vibe center source relayed by the projector. Boom. With a sound, the ground directly collapsed and a terrible hole appeared. 1,000-meter-long red giant worm let out a terrifying roar, drilled out of the big hole, rose into the air and floated in mid-air. The big worm was covered in red and covered with scarlet scales. It had huge amounts of dense eyeballs on its head, and dense and disgusting mouths around its body. At the moment, the red worm was waving its tentacles like giant whips, and when it slapped down, the flames erupted and the earth shook, and the surrounding kilometers directly turned into a flame hell. This red worm seems to be some kind of unimaginable weirdness in the world, and those who are not determined will be haunted by nightmares just by looking at it. The appearance of this red worm made everyone on the warships show unbelievable expressions. Damn it, has this guy evolved to this point? When Brighton saw the giant flame worm that seemed to be born in the flames, he cursed, but his hand holding the cigarette trembled slightly. This big worm is like a catastrophe from heaven. It was only a few meters in size when it first appeared. At first they didn't take it seriously, they just sent a small team to deal with it. Until the whole team died, the big worm grew to tens of large in just a few days, and it went directly into the volcanic area. Let them cast a mouse, and they cannot directly use energy weapons to bomb the volcanic area. Because once a violent volcanic eruption is triggered, and various volcanic eruptions on the planet are triggered, this planet that was originally suitable for habitation and survival will become uninhabitable. Then they are not the insect mothers who exterminate the Zerg, but kill themselves. This giant worm has appeared for more than 10 years, and they have also fought for it for more than 10 years. And the giant worm also occupied more craters. Due to the situation, all the countries on Keelf have united in an all-round way. Technology has developed at a high speed, and they have paid for bounty hunters to come to support. In fact, this giant worm had emerged from the ground 3 times, wanting to formally expand its territory, and had several large-scale confrontations with their union. They paid a heavy price in death and injury to temporarily resist the expansion of the world-destroying giant worm. It's just that this world-destroying giant worm is still growing, and its size is getting bigger every time it is born. When it appeared 2 years ago, it was about 800 meters tall, and the scales on its body were getting harder and harder, making it more and more difficult to penetrate. According to the calculations of the Strategic Bureau, if the worm mother cannot be killed within 5 years, they will be forced to take the planet's human family to relocate to other planets. Completely destroy the environment of this planet and bring it back to the primitive era. At that time, he still thought that the Strategy Bureau was making a big fuss, but now looking at the group of guys in the Strategy Bureau, they really don't have nothing to eat. It hasn't been 5 years, but in just 2 years, this giant worm has grown to more than 1,100 meters. It is like a mountain entrenched, and it makes people feel afraid when they see it. I'm afraid this situation can't be delayed. Brighton saw this terrifying big bug that was prone to nightmares at night, took a puff of cigarette, and said with trembling lips. Although that Cassidon went to die, fortunately, the other party forced the World Destroyer out and let them know the situation of the World Destroyer. Otherwise, the World Destroyer would grow underground for a few years, and they might not even have the chance to prepare to evacuate. Lieutenant General Brighton, look quickly. At this time, the soldiers on the warship saw the unbelievable scene and pointed. Brighton saw a figure in gold armor walk out of the flames with a purple blade in his hand in that fiery hell. The blazing flames burned on the purple energy on his body, unable to attack at all. This guy is not dead? Seeing this figure, Brighton shrank his eyes and said in disbelief. At this time, Cassidon disappeared under the gaze of countless people. Suddenly, like a thunderclap, with a sound of boom, an indentation appeared on the body of the world-destroying giant worm. The world-destroying giant worm fell to the ground like a meteorite, and the terrifying impact caused the ground within 10,000 meters to collapse, setting off smoke and dust all over the sky. The terrible shock spread, and everything around was destroyed. This scene was like a god being angry, leaving Brighton, many officers and other bounty hunters dumbfounded. An angry roar that anyone could hear resounded between the heavens and the earth, and the terrifying lava shot out from the giant worm's mouth, passing by like a laser, and directly hit Cassidon's figure. Boom boom boom. The magma directly dyed the sky and the earth red, and the black mist that filled the sky floated up and covered the sky and the earth, just like a scene of annihilation. The world-exterminating giant worm is already comparable to a walking natural disaster monster, and there will be no intact place where it moves. Help me contact the High Command. I want to apply for the use of the interstellar railgun. Brighton said with a pale face when he saw this scene. The current world-destroying giant worm has grown to be extremely terrifying, and the impact just now failed to kill it. On the contrary, it made the World Destroyer even more angry. He knew that if he didn't try to kill the World Destroyer now, Kiev would also be destroyed. So even if it detonates the volcano, he will become a sinner, and he will use the previously prohibited weapons. If the interstellar orbital gun can't kill the giant worm, they have nothing to do. Episode 65, Incarnation of the Prototype, killing the giant worm instantly. He's not dead, Lieutenant General Brighton. The officer next to Brighton said with a horrified expression. How is it possible? How can it be possible to not die after being hit by that kind of lava rays? Brighton raised his head in shock. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Cassidon wearing the gold armor burst out with dazzling purple light, and a 100-meter-high shadow appeared behind him. Who the hell is that guy? The gods of this world have come out? The other battleships had never seen Harvey before, so they didn't know who the figure who was fighting the giant worm was. However, the power displayed by this figure wearing a gold armor and a gold mask on his face has exceeded their cognition. So some bounty hunters even thought that this was the appearance of the gods of this world. In the long years of each planet, most of them have the shadow of gods, showing incomprehensible powerful power. Now this figure in gold armor meets the power standard of a god. And Harvey looked at this big bug who had endured his taste fear, stabbed in the void, and even leaped with all his strength, but was only injured but not dead. He knew he could kill the lava worm, but it would take a longer fight. Because the life energy of this world-exterminating giant worm soaked in the magma is surging, and it is rapidly recovering from its injuries. It obviously has a powerful regenerative ability. The longer this battle drags on, the more it will be destroyed. At that time, it will not be a task but will tear down the planet together. So Harvey decided to make a quick decision, without any reservations, and directly incarnated as Void Predator Kha'Zix. With a sound of click, Harvey's gold armor shattered. At the moment of incarnation, Harvey heard a word full of loneliness but full of arrogance resounding in his mind. I sensed valuable prey. With the appearance of black shadows, even if they are extremely far apart. The soldiers of all the warships trembled inexplicably, trembling uncontrollably. The soldiers and bounty hunters on the warships felt a terrible sense of crisis, as if there was no safe place around the world, and death would come at any time. Whether it was a soldier or a bounty hunter, they were directly frightened by this fear and fainted. Only one terrible soldier, at the moment, who has experienced countless bloody battles and has a tough mind, has not fainted yet. It's just that even Brighton at the moment's face was pale, and his whole body was drenched in cold sweat. He watched Cassidon transform into a 100-meter-tall black shadow, but he couldn't see the whole thing clearly. He only saw a sharp blade full of purple light. Afterwards, the black shadow disappeared without a trace in an instant, as if hidden in the space. And it was this disappearance that made Brighton lean forward, and finally put his hands on the table in front of him, barely falling to the ground. But his breathing was also extremely fast, and his heart was beating wildly, resisting the feeling of helplessness and despair that seemed to kill him at any time. Others couldn't see clearly, but the giant worm could see it clearly. This 100-meter-tall monster covered in purple skin and beautifully streamlined muscular muscles saw the sharp claws exuding a cold light disappear into the air. The other party obviously disappeared, but the giant worm felt like a lamb isolated by the world, in an environment that could die at any time. This invisible threat and sense of death awakened a fear that had never existed in its heart. It has only one thought at the moment, and that is to escape, even if it doesn't know where to escape is a safe place. As soon as the giant worm moved its body, it wanted to burrow into the ground. It wanted to escape into the magma, to that comfortable place that made it feel warm and at ease. But just as the world destroyer worm made its move, when it went down, a pair of sharp claws exuding a purple cold light had already burst out from the void, penetrating through its body soundlessly. Facing the blade of the void just broke the defense, facing the multiple slashes that tasted fear only suffered some injuries, and the indestructible scales seemed to turn into bubbles at this moment, and were directly pierced. The giant world-killing worm was still in the posture of rushing down, and its body stopped suddenly. The huge body of a kilometer was cut into 32 sections at this moment, and the blood sprayed out like a small river, making this world seem to be descending. It rained blood. Seeing this scene, Brighton was so frightened that he couldn't breathe. Then, before these huge amounts of corpses fell into the big pit below, they floated in the air. A figure wearing gold armor also stood directly in the air. When Brighton saw Cassidon's figure reappeared, he came back to his senses, breathing heavily, and an unbelievable idea appeared in his mind. The giant worm is dead? He saw when the world-exterminating giant worm grew to a huge size of more than 1,000 meters. He thought that only the interstellar railgun might pose a threat to the exterminator, and this was still uncertain. He never expected to be killed by someone. No, can this Cassidon really be called a human? Although he couldn't see it clearly, he also saw that Cassidon turned into a black shadow with a size of 100 meters, like the incarnation of a monster. But no matter how shocked Brighton was, when he saw Cassidon stepping directly into a purple void black hole with the corpse of the world exterminator. A voice came from outside the battleship. I've already killed the female worm, you guys should prepare 100 million for me. Brighton quickly looked at the instrument and saw Cassidon's figure at the moment standing in the air outside the battleship. Should we pay cash or transfer? Brighton at the moment faced Cassidon with a trembling voice. Bounty hunters will bind an account, and if the other party completes, they can send money directly. However, some bounty hunters who have been rewarded by one of the empires in the universe do not accept transfers, only cash. Just transfer the money to me. Don't be afraid, as long as you can abide by the agreement, I will not attack you, let alone kill you. Even if you want to ask me to do business in the future, as long as you pay me a satisfactory salary, I can help you again. Harvey heard Brighton's frightened voice and said calmly. This female worm's defense is a bit high. If it's not for a quick fight, he can fight it for a few minutes to solve it. But if it dragged on, even if he killed the female worm, the aftermath of the battle would cause the volcano in this area to erupt. These people are alive, and they may become believers in the void in the future, so Harvey definitely doesn't want this planet to be destroyed. And when doing missions, it is necessary to control the scope of the battle. Otherwise, every time the mission is completed, it will cause too much damage. Even if others know that you are very powerful, they will not want to appoint you to do things. In fact, if Harvey himself hadn't miscalculated the defense of the female worm and went all out, the female worm would not be able to escape to the ground at all, and would directly die in the ground. Then Brighton shouldn't be so scared. Episode 66, Gradually Fame. Harvey fled into the void and dodged, directly passing through the armor of the warship. As Harvey entered, Brighton's body instinctively took a few steps back. Transfer, right? I'll pass it on to the High Command. We will definitely give you a lot of your reward. Brighton at the moment faced this bounty hunter named Cassidon, not daring to show any contempt in his words. Because Cassidon, who can kill the world exterminator, is also an out-and-out monster in his eyes. Even if Cassidon said he would not attack him, when facing a monster he could not understand, even if he wanted not to be afraid in his heart, his body would act honestly, that is, shrink back. Harvey noticed the fear in the opponent's body, and knew that trying to spread the void directly might not have any effect. So Harvey glanced at Brighton, didn't have any more words, and walked away with dozens of pieces of meat from the big bug. The life energy of this big worm is very high, the highest among creatures Harvey has ever seen, which means that as long as this big worm is eaten, it can provide a lot of evolution points. Although there are some parts of this big worm that Harvey can hardly accept, even if the parts of the big worm make him sick. This giant worm, which was more than 1,000 meters in size, also had a lot of meat for him to eat. So Harvey left the warship directly, and found a relatively large store in the Kill Star, and asked them to help with the food. The appearance of this prey startled all the chefs in the big shop. After knowing that the tentacles, the internal organs, and the head are all that is needed, they immediately started making them one by one. More than an hour passed, and through the cooking and baking of the chef, it seemed that the appetite was not so uncomfortable. It took 2 hours for Harvey to eat a large piece, and this large piece had a full 530,000 evolution points. He couldn't help but feel a little bit worthy of being a planetary disaster-level creature. After removing the disgusting head, tentacles, stomach, and internal organs, there are still 27 yuan, which can make him evolve at least 9 times at a time. This made Harvey very satisfied, but this meal may take a day or two, but he doesn't really lack time, so take his time. Harvey is enjoying the meal here. 2 hours passed, and there was a huge amount of commotion on Star Keelf because of the death of the world exterminator. As long as the worm mother is dead, it is only a matter of time to solve the remaining worm nests. In the Kiko Consortium, after watching the uploaded video projection one by one, the big shots seriously asked about the whole story. When they learned that this strong man who was suspected to be a god was a bounty hunter named Cassidon, many of them had some thoughts and wanted to win over or make friends. Because they don't lack money at all, what they lack is absolute force that can make a final decision. But before that, they transferred the money to Cassidon first. Because Lieutenant General Brighton reported that the other party hated breaching the contract and needed to transfer 100 million as soon as possible. Other things can be falsified and fooled so that the money can be used for other purposes. But this matter, none of them had the idea of delaying for 10 days and a half months. If the other party can kill the world exterminating worm, or if it is enraged, it may bring a real disaster to Keelf Star. Not only was the money transferred quickly, they also gave the most advanced rating. I hope that this can make Cassidon have a good impression of Keelf Star, so as to facilitate the next cooperation. After transferring the money, the United Community of Star Keel announced the death of the exterminator. The chef who was cooking for Harvey saw the host on TV describing the appearance and file size of the destroyer, and looked at the meat in front of his eyes. "Are we cooking the world destroyer?" Immediately, his face changed constantly, his mood was filled with joy and shock, and he said in an unbelievable way, "Seems like it." I said, "When did there be such a big creature on Keelf?" "So that means that the bounty hunter who killed the world slayer is now in the box? Give me a good job, this is a bragging capital that is difficult to replicate." The chefs who are busy in the kitchen have at least 20 years of experience as chefs. They have taken care of countless creatures, but they didn't expect that they would actually participate in the day of taking care of the world-ending disaster that they have always hated on Keelf. After knowing the identity of the prey, the chef worked harder to make it, wishing to use all his skills to follow more cooking methods. Because there is only one such opportunity, this will inevitably become the capital for him to brag to other colleagues in the future. Even if all the parts of the world-destroying worm were removed, it would be terrifyingly large, and special tools were needed to cut off the flesh. Even if there were 20 highly experienced chefs, it took a lot of energy to cook, but none of them complained of being tired, but they were cooking with enthusiasm. In just a few hours, everyone on Keelf had heard of Cassidon's name. It is no secret on Keelf that the Alliance of Keelf Star has issued a bounty mission. Because over the years, they have seen too many bounty hunters from aliens. Although there hasn't been much effect for so many years, many people in Keelf Star feel that this is a waste of money. But now when a bounty hunter who can kill the exterminator really appears, they have only admiration and curiosity in their hearts at the moment, wanting to know who this Cassidon is. Not only did the Keelf Star complex cause shocks, but the bounty hunter world at the moment also set off a storm. In the bounty hunter world, even if you don't have the strength to do the third-level bounty task, you will still go to the general information to see what to do. There are some third-level tasks that can be completed as long as enough second-level bounty hunters cooperate. But there are also some that are impossible to complete even if they are united. In the bounty world, when they first entered the industry, many of them took over the support missions from Keelf, and they also knew the rules of not using some large weapons. So most bounty hunters know how difficult it is to do this seemingly ordinary task of killing insect mothers. But now there is an update on the reward list. The task of exterminating the insect mother was completed, and it was done by a second-level bounty hunter named Cassidon alone. Who is Cassidon? Many people have never heard of it, but they were all shocked when they learned that Cassidon joined the bounty hunter world only yesterday. I have just joined the industry for 2 days, and I have completed a second-level task and a third-level task, and the task types are relatively troublesome to clear disasters. Let them know that a real ruthless man has come to the bounty hunter world, and this ruthless man is named Cassidon. Episode 67, Rest, in the bounty bar on Xander, at the moment is also very lively. Fuck, although I guessed that Cassidon has the ability to teleport, I didn't expect that Cassidon is really so ruthless. Really teleporting to more than 1,000 light years away to do tasks, this guy is simply not human. Fortunately, this bar is relatively peaceful on Xander, so there is no habit of fighting. Otherwise, when that person came in, he might be bloodbathed if he provocatively said a few words. Because Xander has the Nova Core, so in this bounty bar, it is generally not casual to cause trouble. After all, no one wants to be caught in prison. Being able to make the prophet unable to see through the future is already very telling. What the hell is the void? C-53 is a place called Earth, not the void. Perhaps Earth is also called void? Don't be silly, coming from C-53 just means that this Cassidon uses the language of the Earth, it doesn't mean that the void is C-53. This can only show that Cassidon has been to Earth and knows the language of Earth. It seems to be the truth. The origin of Cassidon is being seriously discussed in the bounty bar. It's not to blame for their curiosity, it can only be said that Cassidon, a newcomer, is too ruthless. They completed the second-level task within a few hours of coming up, which originally made them have a lot of guesses and scruples. Now, in less than the next day, Cassidon ran to Keelf, 1,000 light-year away from Xander, and completed the third-level task that was considered impossible due to the restrictions on many means. This is no longer something that ordinary superpowers can do. Following this trend, they might be able to see the birth of the first third-level bounty hunter in the bounty hunter world. Lacey was also a little surprised when she saw the extremely heated discussions. In terms of Cassidon's speech and behavior, it does not make people feel that he is a very powerful and dangerous figure. It is only because of that unique, mysterious and solemn temperament that people know that Cassidon is not from common. Is there a chance to see you again? Lacey put her hands on the table in front of her, dragged her chin, recalled some of the words she had talked with Cassidon, and inexplicably looked forward to seeing her next time. 2 days passed quietly. The fact that the task of exterminating the insect mother was completed basically only caused some disturbances in the world of Keelf and the bounty hunters, and it has not spread farther. The origins and deeds of those big shots that can be known in the universe are extremely scary. Cassidon's deeds are very powerful, but they are far from enough, at least not to the point where everyone knows them. For example, Sonia in the Celebrity Hotel, at the moment, is in her resting room, looking worriedly at the communicator on her wrist. Originally, Mr. Cassidon said that as long as she was not called, she could rest as much as she wanted. She was very happy that she didn't call her all morning, because she could sleep a little longer. But until the afternoon and night passed, Mr. Cassidon didn't call her, which made Sonia feel that something was wrong. She would rather be busy than sit here, unable to understand the situation of the guests. It's just that she can't enter the guest's villa without the guest's permission, so she can only wait for at the moment. I hope it is not because of my service attitude that caused Mr. Cassidon's dissatisfaction and made the other party leave. Otherwise, even taking a month off would make her feel uneasy. And while Sonia was waiting, a voice sounded. Sonia, help me prepare some fruit tea and bring it up. When Harvey's voice sounded. Mr. Cassidon? Sonia trembled in fright and asked quickly. Yes. Harvey was a little strange to hear this inquiry, but he responded. Okay, I'll deliver what you want right away. Sonia had already walked out of the lounge upon hearing this response. In just a few minutes, Sonia came to villa number 7777. Because I don't know what kind of fruit tea you like, Mr. Cassidon, so I prepared some more. When she saw a figure in golden armor and a gold mask lying on a sun lounger by the indoor swimming pool, a smile appeared on her face, and she walked over lightly. When Harvey heard the words, he turned his head and glanced at the densely packed fruit tea, and nodded slightly. Then, he picked up the fruit tea that he had put away and took a sip. Ah, comfortable. The cold temperature and moderately sweet and sour taste poured from the mouth into the atrium, making Harvey breathe out comfortably. It took more than 2 days for him to eat up the big worm, directly contributing 1400 W evolution points to him. Now he already has 1550 W evolution points, allowing Harvey to evolve 10 times at once. He had evolved 11 times in just a few days, and he was undoubtedly very satisfied with the harvest. But even if those chefs have a high level of cooking, it is true that Harvey will get tired of cooking the destroyer worm in different ways. He doesn't want to eat for the time being, he just wants to drink some cool and delicious drinks, adjust the taste, and digest by the way. Mr. Cassidy looks a bit tired? Do you want me to give you a massage? Seeing Harvey let out a long breath, Sonia asked softly. I appreciate your kindness, but I'm not tired, I just did some things and want to take a rest. Harvey heard Sonia's suggestion and said. When he was in Blue Star, he needed to quickly accumulate wealth at the beginning, and he took on tasks every day. After the subsequent accumulation of wealth, he began a comfortable life of fishing for 3 days and drying the net for 2 days. If there is a high price reward, he will do it. When there is no time, he will eat, exercise, and play games to survive. Occasionally go for a drag race, and when you meet a beautiful woman who is close to your eyes, you will strike up a conversation and invite to spend a night together. Compared to the beginning, his strength has grown too much, and now he has only done 2 tasks, and his wealth has directly reached 100 million, and the speed of accumulating wealth is much faster. But the past few days have indeed eaten too much, so that Harvey has no choice but to slow down. Otherwise, he was afraid that he would lose his appetite and would endure that hunger again. So would you like me to prepare some snacks for you? Sonia didn't care about being rejected, but asked following Harvey's words. Not for now, I just want to have a drink now. At 7 o'clock in the evening, you help me prepare some appetizing dishes. Harvey heard that his hands were moving non-stop, eating sweet fruit and drinking fruit tea. Okay, it will be delivered to you on time at 7 o'clock in the evening. Sonia tapped her wrist and a projection appeared, tapped a few times quickly, and recorded it. Afterwards, Sonia stood beside him quietly, and she noticed that Mr. Cassidy's eating speed was significantly slower than the one a few days ago. However, she noticed that she did not speak without authorization, but waited patiently for Mr. Cassidy to finish eating before taking away the food. Episode 68, The Name of Cassidy. After Harvey drank all the more than 30 cups of drinks with different flavors, the armor on his body disappeared. Sonia was about to pack up her things and leave, when she suddenly saw Mr. Cassidy's armor disappeared, and she was fascinated for a moment by the sturdy figure that was revealed, and some ripples appeared in her heart. But when she saw Mr. Cassidy's unchanging face covered in golden light, the ripples in her heart stopped immediately. Regardless of Sonia's opinion, Harvey jumped into the big swimming pool in front of him wearing the swimming trunks transformed by magic power, and swam happily. He is very clear that apart from doing those big things that shake the galaxy, such as fighting Xander or fighting the Kree, or directly destroying various planets, there is no rush to build a reputation. Therefore, it is also very important to combine work and rest. It takes a few months to complete all the secondary and tertiary tasks of disaster clearance. Not only will his strength improve greatly, but he will also be able to accumulate a lot of wealth and fame. At that time, it will be the next stage, preparing to establish the Void God religion on a large scale to attract other people to believe in Void. After Harvey swam for a while, he directly called the evolution point for strengthening. The Void skin has evolved 10 times at one time, reaching the point where Harvey can feel that the power in his body is getting stronger and stronger. He also discovered that the more times the Void skin evolved, the bigger his body would be when he transformed into Kha'Zix the Void Predator. When he incarnated into the prototype on Kilfstar, he immediately escaped into the Void, otherwise it might cause a bigger shock. Harvey clenched his fists, jumped into the pool again and swam slowly, adapting to his growing strength. Until the evening, Sonia delivered food. Harvey ate these appetizers, adding less evolutionary points, but the taste was good. Let him get some relief from his reduced appetite due to eating too much these days. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, don't forget. After Harvey finished eating quickly, he gave instructions. Okay. Sonia nodded slightly upon hearing this. After Sonia left, Harvey started practicing all night, fully adapting to his own strength. After enjoying breakfast in the morning, Harvey set off again to do the task. In the next month, Sonia discovered that Mr. Cassidy said he would eat 4 or 5 meals a day. But Mr. Cassidy would go out after breakfast every day, but the time of his return was uncertain. Sometimes I leave in the morning and come back in the afternoon or evening. Sometimes I go out in the morning and don't come back for several days. Generally, the guests of celebrity hotels often ask them to help find some beauties to serve them at night, or they want to hold a party for them to find some seductive beauties to attend. Or Mr. Cassidy doesn't need to be on standby all the time during the day and run around. For a month, what she is doing now is to prepare delicious food for Mr. Cassidy when Mr. Cassidy is around, and occasionally prepare some drinks for Mr. Cassidy. It was the first time that Sonia discovered that her job could be so easy. At the same time, it also made her a little curious about what Mr. Cassidy did when he went out every day. The information of Celebrity Hotel is very fast, and here you can learn a lot of news that ordinary people don't know. But she had never heard of anything about Mr. Cassidy. But Sonia didn't care anymore, because it was already the last day. If there is no accident, Mr. Cassidy should leave Xander and no longer live here. So this afternoon, Sonia was also cleaning the villa. Ready to officially enter the rest stage, waiting for the arrival of the next guest served by her. And during this month, a name has been known to countless people in the galaxy. It has been widely circulated among the powerhouses, planets, and even the high levels of several great empires in the Milky Way. The reason is that after so many years in the bounty hunter world, a third-level bounty hunter named Cassidy appeared. This person's strength is extremely terrifying. In just 1 month, he has completed 18 third-level tasks, and all of them are disaster type. Every monster that is difficult to deal with even if a number of powerful people unite, or even dispatch a fleet. But all those monsters died in the hands of Cassidy alone. Absolutely fast and efficient execution, and stronger and bottomless strength than all the monsters that are difficult to kill. Let Cassidy have many rumors, some say he is a demon, some say he is a monster, and some say he is a god from the void. Mysterious, powerful and unknown, let Cassidy step into the industry of bounty hunters, but in just 1 month. He became the first 3-level bounty hunter in history. Moreover, the gold content of this 3rd-level bounty hunter left anyone who wanted to question him speechless. Someone already wanted to offer a big price of 50 million to let Cassidy help complete the task, but they were rejected. The reason for the refusal was that the other party temporarily refused to accept tasks related to large-scale biological disasters. This made those who wanted to issue the assigned task a little angry, but they didn't dare to scold Cassidy openly. Because one level 3 mission after another proved that Cassidy absolutely has the terrifying power to destroy a planet. Countless bounty hunters in the bounty hunter world admire Cassidy very much now. Cassidy made them see the power comparable to gods. Now Cassidy's name is widely talked about in the bounty hunter circle. And Harvey returned to Xander after taking the money after solving a flame demon. Harvey will eat powerful creatures, even if they look disgusting, but he still won't eat creatures related to human form. Although he would lose a lot of evolution points because of this, Harvey worried that after eating it, he would be out of control. So he still restrained his desire. Sonia was cleaning the jade bottle when she heard footsteps behind her. She was not frightened, but turned around with a smile. "Mr. Cassidy, I'm going to prepare afternoon tea for you." Sonia had been frightened several times by Mr. Cassidy, who was elusive and elusive. But after getting along for a month now, she is no longer surprised by Mr. Cassidy's sudden return. Harvey nodded slightly. With permission, Sonia stopped what she was doing, and immediately went downstairs to get a drink. In just a few minutes, Sonia came up with cups of delicious iced drinks. "Today seems to be the last day?" Harvey sat on the sofa and took a sip, then remembered something and said, "Yes, Cassidy, you have lived here for 30 days. If you don't renew the fee, you will leave here before 12 noon tomorrow." When Sonia heard Mr. Cassidy bring it up, she also explained with a smile. "I've never been served before, but it feels good to have you help with some trivial matters. I still have to stay here for a while. How to renew? Please help me renew for 1 more month." Harvey said when he heard the words. Episode 69, Future Planning. "Mr. Cassidy, didn't you come to travel on Xander?" Sonia was also happy to hear that the other party wanted to renew the fee, but she still asked. Generally speaking, guests will not stay here for a long time. Because if you live for a few months, you can buy some luxury houses directly on Xander. Although the environment is not as good as that of a celebrity hotel in terms of service, but you can live there all the time if you buy a real estate directly, without having to spend all the time in a celebrity hotel. "I never said that I came here for tourism, I just found a comfortable place to live. I asked about the celebrity hotel, which is the best, so I just came here to give it a try. However, I'm quite satisfied with the environment of the celebrity hotel and your service." It's okay to stay longer. When Harvey heard the misunderstanding, he didn't mind saying, Sonia was very bright and quick to get things done, even if he let her rest. As soon as she opened her mouth, Sonia would respond immediately, without being lazy, and she was really ready to be called at any time. And Harvey is very clear that Sonia should be very curious about how often she goes out to do things, because she can see it in her eyes. But Sonia never asked a question, and only did what she was supposed to do. Thank you, Mr. Cassidy, for your compliment. It is also my honor to serve Mr. Cassidy. When Sonia heard the words of praise, a heartfelt happy smile appeared on her face. How to apply for renewal. Seeing Sonia's usual polite words, Harvey didn't take it seriously, and said casually. Normally, let alone living here for a month, even if you just moved in. Because they will help introduce the various functions in the villa so that guests can have a better living experience here, and they will already know about these. But after getting along for a month, Sonia has already gotten to know Mr. Cassidy. Mr. Cassidy doesn't care about these trivial matters, as long as he does what the other party mentioned. So Sonia didn't explain too much, and tapped a few times on a smart meter. Then she flicked her jade finger, and a projection of the renewal interface flew directly in front of Harvey. After Harvey saw it, he didn't talk nonsense, and entered 30W, and then the glove on his right hand disappeared. Dear Mr. Cassidy, Sonia will continue to serve you for the next month. Sonia saw that Cassidy had directly renewed the bill for a month, and said with a sweet smile on her pure and pleasant face. Harvey waved his hand casually upon hearing this. Now he has almost done the 3rd level disaster mission. After eating many powerful creatures, Harvey directly evolved 79 times in just 1 month. Now he has evolved a total of 381 times, and his reputation has begun to spread in the Milky Way. The Void Skin allowed Harvey to evolve to 150 times, and Leap Strike evolved to 46 times. And the Void Skin has evolved so many times, and the improvement of Leap Attack has greatly improved Harvey's strength. Now he can reach Mach 24 just for the flight of the physical body. The wind caused by the extreme speed couldn't break Harvey's skin at all. When the void struck, his speed even reached Mach 36. Moreover, the more times the Void Skin evolves, the larger his body will be when he incarnates, and he will be able to explode with power far beyond his incarnation. Harvey does not lack the means of attack, what he lacks is a strong enough ability to protect himself. However, the Void Skin has evolved 150 times, and the strength of the current physical body is enough for the time being. As he had expected, the speed and opportunities of evolution in the universe are much faster than when he was in Blue Star. Now he still has a 2nd-level disaster task to do, which is expected to take about 2 months. After he finished his conservative estimate, it shouldn't be a problem to evolve to more than 420 times. So Harvey plans to taste fear, void stabbing, and mental resistance in addition to the void attack first, and then see how much evolution points are needed for each evolution after 400 evolutions. At that time, if it is not directly doubled to 300W, he can give priority to improving the mental resistance. Raising the mental resistance to level 70 or 80, combined with Cassidy's ability, should allow him to obtain the ability that ignores most magic. If the demand for evolution points doubled, he would give priority to several other skills besides Void Raid. After all evolutions have reached 50 times, it is not a problem to increase the mental resistance after raising the Void Attack to the limit. The ability of Cassidy's hero template is not too late to evolve in the future, anyway, the evolution points are not shared. When his physical strength becomes stronger and stronger, the speed of acquisition will also increase, and it will not be difficult for Cassidy's ability to evolve quickly. However, it has been a month since he left Blue Star, and now he has more than 1 billion in his hands, and has accumulated a little reputation, so he can consider buying something to bring back for Tony to study, and then go back to Blue Star to play for himself. Seeing Mr. Cassidy, Sophia drank his drink slowly without saying a word or opening his mouth. Instead, he went to the side and continued to clean the furniture that had not been cleaned thoroughly. After getting along for a month, Sonia clearly knew that Mr. Cassidy was not difficult to get along with, and he would not deliberately embarrass her. But Mr. Cassidy is not the kind of person who likes to talk, and often thinks alone. To be honest, Sonia was very curious about what Mr. Cassidy was thinking about, and what he was doing when he kept going out. But Mr. Cassidy didn't bring it up, and she wouldn't ask. Sonia thought about why Mr. Cassidy praised herself so much. Maybe it was because she didn't inquire, but did what she should do in accordance with the rules, that made Mr. Cassidy very satisfied with her. Immediately, Sonia didn't think much about it. It was already a very lucky thing for her to meet Mr. Cassidy, a guest who usually doesn't ask much. Cherish this period of time now, when work is relatively easy. Sonia, I'm leaving for 3 days. You can rest as much as you want while I'm away. After Harvey finished his drink, he decided to go back to Blue Star and explained a few words. This was the first time for Sonia, and she was a little surprised to hear Mr. Cassidy explain a clear departure time. Okay, good luck, Mr. Cassidy. However, Sonia was surprised and responded quickly without any pause. Harvey nodded slightly when he heard the words, then stepped down and disappeared into the room. When Sonia turned her head, she found that Mr. Cassidy had left, and did not go to rest immediately, but continued to clean the villa. Although it is easy to serve Mr. Cassidy, she still has to do what she should do. Episode 70, Back to Blue Star. After Harvey bought a cosmic communicator, a cosmic translator, and some materials that Blue Star didn't have on Xander, he landed directly outside the planet. Immediately, Harvey landed on a star field of a dead star, and then directly overlooked the Milky Way and quickly found the blue star, directly descending from the void. In less than a few minutes, he traveled back to the moon directly across more than 1,000 light-years. One more step back to his manor in New York. After not coming back for a month, Harvey turned on the computer and found that there was a message from Tony on it. Most of the messages are asking if I have returned and want to chat with him. Harvey saw some smiles on these faces, but he didn't respond immediately. Instead, he took off the gold armor on his body, took a shower and changed his clothes. After that, he made a phone call. And in the Stark Manor of Blue Star, New York. Tony was eating depressed, not because the food was bad, but because his research had hit a bottleneck. Now his steel armor has been modified to the 25th generation, but there is no better material production and research, so basically just adding more functions cannot produce qualitative changes. When Harvey was at Blue Star before, he could ask Harvey if he had any suggestions. Now that Harvey has left Blue Star, it is difficult for him to find someone to chat with. But at this moment, a voice sounded. Sir, Mr. Harvey is on the phone, do you want to connect? Tony has heard the voice of JRVIS countless times, but the news from JRVIS is undoubtedly the sound of heaven to him. Answer. Tony's eyes widened, but he reacted quickly and said immediately. Following Tony's words, JRVIS also helped connect. Harvey, when did you get back? Tony saw Harvey in the video communication, and had a lot of questions to ask, but finally he said hello first. Half an hour ago, I saw the message you sent me. So I'll contact you to see if you're busy right now. Harvey said with a smile when he saw Tony in the video communication with a somewhat happy look. If it's too busy to meet people, it's also at night. It's only afternoon now, how could I be too busy to see guests? Tony laughed when he heard these words. Do you still dare to be busy at night? Aren't you afraid that Pepper will be jealous? Harvey said in surprise when he heard Tony's words. Stop talking, it's because of her that I'm busy at night. A helpless smile appeared on Tony's face when he heard this. Because he produced an improved arc reactor, Stark is now on the right track. Pepper is responsible for managing the affairs of Stark Industries, and he is not so tired and needs to take the initiative to run around, but other people take the initiative to contact Stark Industries, so Pepper's work is not very busy now. After Pepper joined the Void, her appearance became more and more beautiful, her body became stronger and stronger, and her flexibility was not inferior to that of a woman who practiced dancing since childhood. As the saying goes, it's so full and warm, not to mention that Pepper has a lot of free time at night, so he likes to pester him to do what he likes to do at night. Fortunately, he also joined the Void, otherwise his body would be directly hollowed out by Pepper. I see. I brought you some things. Is it convenient for me to go to your house now? Seeing the helpless but happy smile on Tony's face, Harvey said understandingly. Definitely convenient. Tony nodded immediately when he heard Harvey's words. With Tony's nod, a purple void black hole appeared, and Harvey's figure stepped out. At the same time, Harvey was also carrying a large box in his hand. This is a gift from me. There are cosmic translators and cosmic communicators inside, as well as rare and special materials in the universe. After Harvey walked out, he threw the box directly. A space translator? Can it be translated in any language? Tony followed up with a movement, and said in surprise when he heard Harvey's words. At present, many of Blue Star's translators rely on Google, and after translation, they can only understand roughly, and cannot perform accurate translation. It would represent incalculable wealth if a truly powerful translator could be implemented. I haven't studied carefully how many languages can be translated. But with this thing, even a language you don't understand will be directly translated into a language you know. Harvey came to Stark's manor, and he was not polite. He sat down on the sofa and said. Hearing this, Tony opened the box and saw something similar to a bracelet, a transparent board, minerals and materials he had never seen before, and some books. He couldn't understand any of the words on the books. Which one is the cosmic translator? Tony was overjoyed to see these things. For a scientist, it is impossible to say that he is not excited to have access to the knowledge of the universe beyond the blue star. That's the bracelet. When you put it on, it will be recognized automatically. Seeing Tony's happy smile, Harvey also explained it. Tony put it on his hand immediately when he heard the words, and when he put it on. Amazing. Tony found that all the books that he could not read had been changed into English, and said with some emotion. What is C53? But as soon as Tony uttered these words, he saw a projection pop up on his bracelet, which marked C53. The universe translator, as long as it speaks in the universe, it will automatically identify and mark which planet it comes from. And the number of blue star in the universe is C53. Although Harvey didn't try to understand it deliberately, he stayed on Xander for a month, performed multiple bounty missions, and dealt with many people, so he still understands these common sense. This is too convenient. But in other words, in the universe, you can't hide your origin? Tony was a little shocked to hear that there was such a convenient function, and soon realized the problem and asked. This cosmic translator can only explain where the language you speak comes from. It cannot completely guarantee that your origin comes from that place. If you want to hide your origin, then you have to learn other languages when you go to the universe. Because other people with cosmic translators can immediately recognize the source of your language when they hear your language. Harvey heard the words and explained. As for himself, he is not at all worried about revealing that he is from Blue Star, because there are many rumors about his origin in the universe. Episode 71, Lucky Blue Star. So the security of the universe seems to be quite good? Tony heard Harvey's words, thinking about some of the functions brought by the universe translator, and said. Planets ruled by several great empires in the universe have definitely better law and order. But apart from those empire-ruled planets, the universe is much more chaotic than you think. After all, there are too many planets in the universe. Some are more advanced than Blue Star, and naturally there are planets that are weaker than Blue Star. When strength overrides all means of attack and defense of a planet, they have nothing to do even if the planet is destroyed. And because of the vastness of the universe, even if some planets and races are destroyed, others may not know who the destroyer is. Not every planet is as lucky as Blue Star. Not only is Odin guarding Blue Star, but Supreme Mage is also guarding Blue Star. Harvey could understand why Tony thought so he explained patiently. It sounds like the universe is not as beautiful as I thought. Tony heard that the planet was destroyed and did not know who the destroyer was, and said with complicated eyes. Every intelligent creature wants to build something so that even after death, there will be something to prove that he has been here. But in the universe, the entire planet may be destroyed without anyone knowing. Just thinking about it makes people feel sad. Whether the universe is beautiful or not depends on whether you have enough strength to ensure the survival of yourself and even your own planet. If it doesn't, then the universe really isn't a good thing. Harvey nodded slightly. Compared with other planets, Blue Star is undoubtedly lucky. Because there is a big shot guarding here, the foreign enemies from the universe dare not come and jump casually. Even if they jumped, they didn't dare to cause too serious damage, otherwise the Supreme Mage Ancient One and Odin who guarded the Blue Star would not sit idly by. Compared with threats from aliens, Blue Star most of the threats are caused by internal struggles among its own people. According to the current situation of Blue Star, even if there is no alien invasion, as long as the World War breaks out again, mushroom eggs will bloom everywhere in Blue Star. For the Blue Star, which has existed for a long time, at most it is just a return to the original era of extinction, and nature will recover again after a little more time. However, for human beings, if the mushroom eggs erupted all over the world, it would be devastating, and may even directly exterminate human beings. Tony's eyes flickered when he heard this. He did not deny that Blue Star was lucky, but this luck was only temporary. Harvey said that in 2017, Blue Star will usher in a strong enemy who needs them to cooperate with aliens. So he had to make all the preparations he could do before the crisis came. This thing. When Tony picked up the cosmic communicator and wanted to ask how to use it, the portable cosmic communicator with a transparent screen automatically lit up and stopped talking. Compared to asking me, if you let JRVIS analyze these things directly, you should be able to understand them more clearly. Seeing Tony's appearance, Harvey said with a smile. I'll take them to JRVIS for analysis first. Upon hearing this suggestion, Tony's eyes lit up and he took off all the bracelets in his hand. Immediately, Tony moved his body with the big box and immediately went down to the underground research room. In just a few seconds, Tony returned to the lobby on the second floor. Have a drink? Then, Tony didn't ask Harvey about the things Harvey brought back, but took out the fine wine from his collection and asked casually. Now that Tony has evolved 48 times, things like alcohol can't affect him anymore. But he will still drink, because this is his habit for many years, and it is not so easy to quit in a while. Can. Harvey nodded with a smile. Harvey, how long do you plan to stay in Blue Star this time? Hearing that Harvey was willing to drink, Tony came to the sofa and sat down with 2 wine glasses. He knew that Harvey wouldn't stay in Blue Star for too long if there was nothing that interested Harvey in Blue Star. Stay here for 3 or 4 days. Although the food in the universe is good, the food in Blue Star is also unique. Hasn't anything interesting happened to Blue Star recently? Harvey took a sip from his wine glass and said. The two chatted casually as if they were friends. I don't know if it's funny or not, but let's talk about what happened. My iron armor is rapidly updated and iterated, getting stronger and stronger. SHIELD came to me again and wanted me to join the Avengers. Do you think I want to join? Hearing this, Tony shook the wine glass lightly with his right hand and said. I don't know if it's because SHIELD was taught by Harvey last time, or because his steel armor is too fierce. When SHIELD contacted him again, his attitude lowered a lot, and he didn't dare to put on that domineering appearance, but invited him more friendly. Tony, even though you joined the Void, it doesn't mean I will dictate your actions. So it's up to you to decide for yourself. When Harvey heard Tony asking for his opinion, he said indifferently. Don't you hate SHIELD? Tony said in surprise when he heard himself making a decision. Even if SHIELD wants to quickly form the Avengers to deal with the danger that may come at any time in the future. However, the arrogance of SHIELD before was really annoying. Tony himself doesn't have much affection for S.H.I.E.L.D. As far as I'm concerned, even if those guys from SHIELD are jumping around, it won't affect anything I want to do. So as long as they don't come to obstruct my eyes, I don't bother to care about them. Harvey said calmly. It's nice to be alone. However, because of Blue Star's future, I may need to join in and help them. Do you have any advice for me about this? Tony felt relieved when he heard Harvey's words, and said. To Harvey, Blue Star might just be a planet where Harvey comes to play, but to Tony, Blue Star is his home. So when it's time to contribute, you still have to contribute. SHIELD is not full of SHIELD people. Harvey heard Tony's words, thought about it, and gave a suggestion. After all, the current Tony is not the original Tony, not only joined the Void, but also got the universe translator and materials from the universe. The technology that Tony has mastered will be further improved. If Tony gets too involved with SHIELD, it may allow Hydra to get more things. So some reminders should be given to Tony, and they still have to be given. The most I can do is to contribute money and support them. I will not give them any technology one have. Tony heard Harvey's words, thought for a moment, then realized something, and spoke. Instead of hinting, Harvey told him directly that there is a mole inside S.H.I.E.L.D. Although Tony doesn't know the origin of the traitor, it proves that SHIELD is not fully controlled by S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury. As long as you have this awareness, you can do whatever you want. Harvey nodded. Episode 72. What exactly do you do? I'll think about it. Tony fell into deep thought when he heard Harvey's words. Originally, he planned to join SHIELD, and he planned to support it from all directions. Because of his personal strength, he can only protect himself and the people around him. If he wants to protect launching, he still needs other people to be strong. But looking at it now, he has to selectively support. After all, Guiwu can't guarantee unity because of guilt. If you hand over some of your technology to SHIELD, it may be used by the insider to cause some unpredictable troubles. I'm going to rest and relax for a few days, and then I'll go back to the universe. Not only those materials, don't forget to study the technology of cosmic translators and cosmic communicators. That research is also very useful. Seeing that Tony understood, Harvey did not talk about SHIELD but explained a few words, drank the wine in the glass, and left. Seeing Harvey leave, Tony wiped out all the food that he hadn't eaten just now, then stepped into the underground research room and started research. He also knows the technology of the universe translator and the universe communicator, if it can be researched and separated. Not only will the operation of the steel armor be greatly improved, but it will also add an extremely convenient technology to Blue Star. It can be applied to various industries, and if it goes well, Blue Star can also use this to formally connect with all planets in the universe. Harvey just mentioned several empires in the universe. Although he did not elaborate, it also proves that there are some extremely advanced civilizations in the universe. Compared with it, Blue Star's technology is obviously too weak. So he has only one goal, that is to think and create constantly, and catch up with the civilization and technology of other planets in the universe. Strive to make Blue Star completely strong, even if the future breaks away from his protection, he still has a certain foothold in the universe. He will never let Lan Xing, as Harvey said casually just now, even if it is destroyed, no one will know about it. Harvey returned home, ordered some takeaways at random, played a game he hadn't played in a month, and played comfortably. The technological level of Xander is higher than that of Blue Star, but in terms of diet, games and entertainment, Xander is not as developed and comprehensive as Blue Star. So much so that he has no games to play on Xander. This time he came back not only to bring something to Tony, but also because Harvey missed the life and food in Blue Star. Harvey spent 3 days in Blue Star without any purpose, just resting time. He drove the car to Chinatown to eat the delicacies of the Celestial Dynasty, and finally left Blue Star again and set foot on the universe with satisfaction. If he doesn't want to eat iron and steel that are difficult to swallow, he can evolve and gain more powerful power. So now is not the time for him to aimlessly and waste his time. Xander Star, Celebrity Hotel. Sonia saw Mr. Cassidy in the gold armor, and he really came back today. Mr. Cassidy, welcome back, I'm going to prepare breakfast for you. Sonia's beautiful eyes were a little surprised, but she immediately reacted and said, Harvey nodded when he heard the words, took out the cosmic communicator, and directly connected to the bounty hunter's website. During the 3 days he was away, some people wanted to assign tasks to him, and some people wanted to invite him to meet him. But none of these people were known to Harvey, so he didn't care. He was eyeing the next bounty missions to clear disasters. For him now, money is a small thing, killing the disaster and then eating the evolution points brought by it is the most important thing. Disasters like the giant worm, which contains huge life energy, are hard to come by. Some disasters have humanoid forms that cannot break the precepts, and some are elemental bodies, which disappear immediately after being killed. Harvey doesn't have the habit of eating it raw, so he can't eat it even if he wants to. Otherwise, after 18 third-level tasks, he wouldn't have only evolved more than 80 times. However, although the previous missions were not fruitful every time and satisfied him, they also left him with various rumors on various planets. Now you just need to make your reputation a little bit louder, and wait for an opportunity to start promoting the void, and someone will take the initiative to send it to your door. When Sonia delivered the food, she found that Mr. Cassidy was already sitting at the table, and she also served Mr. Cassidy for the beginning of nature and habit. After quickly killing breakfast, Harvey sat on the sofa, thinking about the planned route. Isn't Mr. Cassidy busy today? Sonia asked softly when she saw that Mr. Cassidy did not leave after eating breakfast, but sat on the sofa thinking. Normally, Cassidy disappeared as soon as he finished eating, and he seemed to leave early and return late, but today it was rare that he didn't leave immediately. But after speaking, Sonia became a little nervous, and her question seemed to have crossed the line. I have something to do, but I don't need to be so anxious to start today. Harvey turned his head and glanced at Sonia when he heard the words, then turned around again, and said casually. The third-level disaster tasks have all been cleared, and now only the second-level disaster tasks are left. The difficulty of these tasks has been reduced a lot, but reducing the difficulty does not mean that it will not be troublesome, so it is necessary to consider which tasks are the fastest and most efficient. Mr. Cassidy, you seem to be thinking about it every day. Is there any trouble? Hearing the response, Sonia's nervous heart relaxed, and she asked while packing the dishes. It's not an annoyance. All I do is act for the planned goal. Harvey found that Sonia talked a lot today, and was a little surprised, but faced with these issues that were not considered private, he did not deliberately cover them up and spoke. Mr. Cassidy, you are already so rich, but you still don't slack off. It's about being able to resolutely implement the plan you want, and you have an admirable will. Sonia praised Cassidy with a smile when she heard what Cassidy said. Is this polite? Harvey heard Sonia's words, thought for a while and said with some uncertainty. No, this is the truth. Because not everyone can move forward and act according to the plan they imagined. It's even hard for most people to say what they really want to do and live a life of mediocrity. So Mr. Cassidy, you have a clear plan for your future, which I really admire. Sonia shook her head slightly, looked at Cassidy with envy and said, although I can't be sure whether you are speaking politely or sincerely. However, these words are indeed very pleasant to hear. Hearing this, Harvey stood up, glanced at Sonia, and said. After finishing speaking, Harvey's figure had disappeared in Villa 7777, and he set off to perform the mission. What the hell does Mr. Cassidy do? Episode 73, The Void God. There are many secondary reward tasks, so Harvey went out early and returned late as usual to complete one secondary task after another. And the speed of completion is getting faster and faster, constantly refreshing the 3 views of countless people. In the blink of an eye, more than 2 months passed, and all the second-level disaster bounty missions were completed by a bounty hunter named Cassidy. Moreover, disasters often symbolize creatures or things that are difficult for the civilization of a planet to solve, so those that can solve such disasters symbolize the possession of divine power. Because of this, the names of Cassidy, the god of the void, are circulating on various planets. Hey, the last level 2 disaster bounty is gone, and this Cassidy is too fierce. On a starship, Yondu saw Cassidy's name on the last disaster-type secondary bounty mission on the bounty hunters list, and cursed directly. Boss, this Cassidy shouldn't be doing the task of hunting us down, right? One of Yondu's subordinates also saw all this and said with some fear. How do I know? Yondu also said a little impatiently. Their interstellar predators are also organized by predators. In addition to plundering other interstellar spacecraft, they also take on some tasks to make money. However, their mission is often the opposite of the bounty hunter, and it is darker. Because of this, their interstellar predators and bounty hunters are old rivals. Among the bounty hunters, the second-level bounty hunters are all good players, but most of them fight alone. The formed interstellar team is often very small in number, and it can't do anything to a group of predators like him. Even if you encounter a tricky second-level bounty hunter, the vast universe is vast. As long as they want to hide, it will be difficult for the opponent to pose a threat to them. After all, most of the interstellar predators are veterans, and they basically don't stay on a certain planet for too long. There are also rules for the bounty hunters in the universe and the planets where their predators entertain, and they can't make too much trouble on it. Therefore, although the interstellar predators and the bounty hunters do not deal with each other, they both know that if the other party is completely dead, the tasks on their own side will also be reduced, so they maintain a delicate balance with each other. But now there is a third-level bounty hunter like Cassidy, the god of the void, which completely breaks the balance. After the disaster-type mission is over, is it time to turn around and deal with their interstellar predators? To be honest, Yondu is not sure, and it is because of this that he feels impatient and flustered. Not only Yondu was impatient, but the rest of the marauders were also restless and nervous. A guy who can directly descend on various planets, and whose strength is bottomless can be called a god, may come to claim their lives at any time, and no one can calm down at this moment. You are worrying too much. We mainly do designated tasks here, and the chance of meeting bounty hunters originally is relatively small. And there are predator groups that are more famous than us. If Cassidy wants to deal with them, he must deal with them first. If something happens to them, we'll have plenty of time to plan, won't we? Xingjue felt the tense atmosphere, a smile appeared on his face, and he eased the atmosphere with a more relaxed tone. Cassidy's name has now become a synonym for death and strength in the Milky Way. According to so much information, Cassidy, the god of the void, killing those terrifying disaster monsters can be called killing chickens. Then when you want to catch or kill them, they are very close to death. But Xingjue is an optimist. As long as that Cassidy doesn't follow them, then they have nothing to worry about. Yondu was worried that Cassidy focused on the entire predator organization, but when he heard Star-Lord's words, he saw the expressions of other subordinates. You're right, it's useless to think too much about things that haven't happened. Yondu hid the worry in his heart, and a smile appeared on his face. As Yondu smiled, the tense atmosphere dissipated a lot, but there was still a lingering sadness on the brows of each marauder. That Cassidy is too terrifying, and he is directly opposite to their predators, so it is impossible for them not to worry. Compared with the worries and fears of the interstellar predators, the bounty hunter organization has completely regarded Cassidy as a godlike existence. Because of Cassidy's activeness, their reputation as bounty hunters on various planets has improved a lot. Moreover, Cassidy is currently only doing disaster-type missions, which to some extent robbed some of their jobs, but not all of them. According to the fact that Cassidon has done so many tasks and earned money, he can already consider quitting the front line of bounty hunters, and occasionally accept some designated tasks depending on his mood. His life must be chic enough. Cassidon's activity for more than 3 months has officially made this name widely circulated on various planets, and this name is being discussed everywhere. Bounty hunters from various planets in the universe, as well as residents of various planets, traveled thousands of miles across light years, and wanted to come to Xander to see if they could meet Cassidon. Some came to express Cassidon's gratitude for saving their planet. Some wanted to see if they could gain some connections so that they could get better in the bounty hunter world in the future. Now Cassidon's prestige can make many people feel frightened just by hearing his name. But no one knows where Cassidon really lives, only that Cassidon lives on Xander. On this day, a group of bounty hunters registered at the city gate of Xander. Is there really a chance to meet this deity? Xander is so big, it might not be easy to meet Cassidon's true self, right? Go to the bounty hunter's bar and you'll know. It is rumored that Cassidon first appeared in that bar. Several people with different skin colors and weird clothes walked into the city gate while chatting after registering. Wait, what do you mean by Cassidon? Damu heard the name after a long absence, his eyes flashed, he stopped them quickly, and asked. Dam's words made them all look at each other in dismay. Instead of answering, they took out the cosmic communicator and looked at the information on the light and shadow. According to the rumored void god Cassidon, it's true that he lives on Xander? That's right, the information on the light and shadow is written like this. Then why doesn't this guard look like he's heard of it? Is it possible to buy fake news? Please, don't say such things. You guys and I traveled through so many wormholes and vomited twice on the way. You tell me this may be fake news? The 5 bounty hunters had wonderful expressions one by one, and they started discussing. How about you tell me about Cassidon, god of the void? Dam saw that when they mentioned Cassidon again, they used the honorific name of the void god. Although he thought it was impossible, he still passed a few cigarettes and said in a friendly manner. Episode 74, Next Step Plan. For the sake of being so upright, let me tell you. Several bounty hunters saw the cigarettes that Dum handed over, and they took them one by one. You explained about Legendary, the god of the void, one by one. After listening to it, not only Dam's expression was wonderful, but the other guards were equally wonderful. What does he look like? Dam asked, though, just to be sure. The real face is not clear, but he basically acts like this. Joining the bounty world for just over 3 months has become a well-deserved myth in the bounty world. Now, his name is being circulated on every planet in the entire Milky Way. We also came here for the name, and wanted to see if we could meet the deity and get a little relationship. If you have a little relationship, the benefits will be huge. Okay, this cigarette is also finished, we have to go. Go to the bounty bar to see if the news is true or not. If this is fake news, I have to kill the guy who spread the rumors. Several bounty hunters directly released a video, and then left on their own. Dam recalled the figure wearing the purple and gold armor and the gold mask just now, and his heart was constantly shaken. He remembered that this person named Cassidon told him before that if he heard of his reputation in the future, he could go to him if he wanted something. He didn't take it seriously at the time, because brilliance is not so easy to create. I never thought that in just a few months, the name of Cassidon has already resounded throughout the galaxy. Dum, we seem to have met this guy? The other guards around Dam saw Dam who was down, and said. Cassidon, I remembered. Isn't that the name that looks like a big shot? Dam's chance has come. If you have something you want to achieve and go to him, you may be able to achieve it. After all, the goal that we can hardly achieve in our whole life may be just a sentence for this kind of big shot. The other guards were even more excited than Dum. That's what I said, but that Cassidon may have forgotten me. He looks like a big shot after all. Although he knew that Cassidon had really started to create brilliance, Dam was not overwhelmed by the excitement. You always have to try when you get the chance, don't you? Maybe the other party remembers, just giving a helping hand can get you out of the job of guarding the common. Didn't you hear what the bounty hunters said just now? Cassidon is now worth at least 3 billion. More than 3 billion yuan. We do this job, and our monthly salary is only about 15,000 yuan. If we want to earn more than 3 billion yuan, we have to do hundreds of thousands of years to have that kind of wealth. When the guard said how many years it would take, he fiddled with his fingers to calculate and said loudly. How do you know there is no chance if you don't do it? We want to try it, but we don't have that chance. Do you want to be a guard here for the rest of your life? Several other guards encouraged Dam to give him a try. As colleagues for many years, they know that the job of guarding is easy, but there is not much room for advancement. Only a few can be promoted and transferred to other positions to earn more money. Okay, let me try it. Dam saw them cheering him up one by one, and made a decision in his heart. If there is a turning point in life, no one wants to seize it and let oneself take off completely, wealth and freedom to reach the pinnacle of life. Even if the other party really doesn't remember me, I have tried it. Don't forget us if it's really done, take us with you. Yes, Dam, don't forget our brothers. I haven't achieved it yet, why do you think I have already achieved it in your eyes? Dam heard what they said, and said a little speechlessly. But assuming that Kassadin is really still on Xander, it is not difficult for them to investigate Kassadin's residence. Dam called up the guard information system and checked Kassadin's entry and exit records. After discovering that Kassadin came to Shondam more than 3 months ago, there has never been a record of leaving the city. And after entering the city, the last information Kassadin registered was at the Celebrity Hotel. Seeing this information made Dam feel a little frustrated. The Celebrity Hotel was a place he wouldn't dare to live in even if he wanted to stay for a day. And Kassadin, who made him think he was at the bottom of his life at the time, stayed in a celebrity hotel as soon as he entered the city. After investigating the information, Dam also decided to take a look, hoping to bring some turning points to his life. At the same time, in more than 2 months, Harvey completed 114 second-level reward tasks, and the final second-level reward disaster-type task accumulated wealth to 3.2 billion. Although the money was not much, it was enough for him. And in more than 2 months, he has evolved 76 times, and now the total number of evolutions has reached an astonishing 457 times. After this disaster-type task is gone, his evolution rate will obviously slow down a lot. With his current strength, as long as he doesn't run into some unreasonable opponents in the Marvel Universe, it is completely enough for him to protect himself. If he is cornered by a formidable foe, he will eat iron and steel and vibranium even if the process is a bit tormenting and painful. Most importantly, his reputation has almost spread throughout the galaxy. So that he can start to prepare for the next step. First spread the void in the universe, and then after he got more hero templates and became stronger, he spread the void in Blue Star. The current time is July 2009, and there is still about a year to go before Blue Star Superhero explodes in 2011. Before that he still has enough time to grow himself. Mr. Kassadin, welcome back, the fruit tea you requested is ready. After seeing Mr. Kassadin coming back, Sonia said with a smile. After several months of getting along, although she still doesn't know what Mr. Kassadin does, Mr. Kassadin has already explained how long he will be out. So when Mr. Kassadin is ready to come back, she will prepare what Mr. Kassadin needs. Sonia, I'm getting ready to leave here. Harvey lay on the sun lounger, took a sip of his drink, and said. Since he was about to enter the next step, he would definitely not continue to live in the Celebrity Hotel. Instead, you have to buy a large piece of land to build or directly buy your own mansion, so that you can wantonly transform the structure of the mansion. It is more convenient to act, and others can find him better. When Sonia heard these words, a trace of astonishment flashed across her beautiful eyes. Mr. Kassadin has lived here for more than 3 months. I have been delighted to have served Mr. Kassadin for so long. But soon Sonia suppressed the astonishment in her heart, stood aside quietly, the smile on her face remained unchanged, and said softly. Whether she enjoys this time or not, she is still just a villa manager of the Celebrity Hotel, and Mr. Kassadin is a guest, so separation is inevitable. Episode 75. Remember, I am very satisfied with your service, so I have something to tell you. Will you work for me? The task is not demanding, help me take care of my mansion, and help me with some trivial matters when I am not at home. Harvey saw Sonia's body froze for a moment, and he also had a plan in his heart, and said what he had thought before. After getting along for several months, Sonia never inquired about his behavior and plans intentionally or unintentionally when he took the initiative to tell what she was doing. The appearance is superficial, and ability is capable and reads a lot of words, which meets Harvey's criteria for choosing a person to serve him. It is an honor for Mr. Kassadin to invite me. But can I ask, where is Mr. Kassadin's mansion? Sonia's beautiful eyes flashed when she heard these words. She first responded politely and then asked. She is a Xandarian and grew up here, although it is not difficult to travel to other planets. But if possible, it would be better to work closer to Xander, and it is best to still work on Xander. As far as the plan is concerned, I plan to build a mansion on Xander, so you don't have to worry about leaving your hometown. Work may be more troublesome, but it won't let you live a life of observing other people's faces all the time, and you will not be wronged. I wonder if you would like to work for me? Harvey also understood the meaning of Sonia's words and explained the situation. He knew that if he made Sonia believe in the void, Sonia would definitely be willing to work for him. However, he didn't say that he would give Sonia the opportunity to join the void now. He was also testing Sonia to see if the honor Sonia said was true or polite. If that's the case, I'd be more than happy. Mr. Cassidy, please give me more advice in the future. After listening to these conditions, Sonia thought for a while, bowed slightly, and said with a smile. Harvey originally planned to speak out and try some temptations. After all, this was the first time he planned to choose someone similar to a housekeeper to help him deal with some things. Since he was the first, Harvey naturally couldn't be sloppy. He never expected Sonia to agree so readily. You didn't even understand the remuneration, so you agreed? This surprised Harvey a little. Mr. Cassidy, you invited me to work for you now, it must have been carefully considered. And I believe that Mr. Cassidy is definitely not a stingy person. Sonia shook her head slightly when she heard the words, and said with a smile. She often sees Mr. Cassidy lost in thought, knowing that before doing something, this kind of person will definitely weigh the pros and cons, and consider various factors before taking action. Now that Mr. Cassidy was about to leave the celebrity hotel, he must have planned to invite her long ago. Although she didn't know what Mr. Cassidy did, she knew that Mr. Cassidy was definitely not an ordinary person. As soon as you say this, it doesn't seem so easy for me to treat you badly. Harvey said in a dumb voice when he heard Sonia's casual compliments. I don't have high salary requirements. My current salary is 30,000 yuan per month. Including the year-end bonus, the average annual salary is 436,000 yuan. As long as Mr. Cassidy gives me a salary not lower than this salary, then I will work for you. Sonia didn't mean to be ripped off when she heard the words, and smiled and said her current salary standard. In fact, according to Harvey's standards, if he can find a butler who satisfies him, let alone 500,000, 1 or 2 million will not be a problem. Okay, then if you work for me, I can give you 500,000 a year. I wonder if you are satisfied with the salary. But Harvey still said a relatively low price. This price is only a little higher than Sonia's salary, and Sonia will obey him in the future. I am very satisfied. I don't know when I can officially work for you. Sonia didn't feel that the price was low when she heard the price, but asked proactively. A month later, I will live here for another month. After my mansion is built, then you can officially work for me. Harvey heard that Sonia still agreed, and said again without further testing. When Sonia heard that Mr. Cassidy would stay here for another month before leaving, she immediately understood that those were all Mr. Cassidy's temptations. Okay. But Sonia didn't say too much, but nodded slightly in response. At this moment, a communication was transmitted to Sonia's communication machine. Mr. Cassidy, there is someone below who will help to convey, asking if you remember a person named Dam. Sonia glanced at the message above and asked. Dumb? Remember, let him come up to see me. After hearing this, Harvey recalled the impression of the name in his mind, remembered that it was the gate guard of Xander, and said. Since he has made a promise, he will naturally not forget other people's names. And he wants to let the void cult spread on Xander. The best targets are those guards who also serve the race of Xander, but have a relatively low status. Okay, I'll pick him up. Sonia nodded and left. Mr. Cassidy has lived here for several months, and this is the first time she has seen someone come to see Mr. Cassidy, so she is also a little curious about this visitor. And in the lobby on the first floor of the celebrity hotel, Dam was sitting on the welcoming sofa in the hall, looking at the magnificent and luxurious decorations around him, feeling extremely nervous. According to his circle of contacts and what he knew, only some high-ranking officers of the Nova Corps would live in a place like the celebrity hotel. As for a person like him, if nothing special happens, it can be said that he has nothing to do with a place like a celebrity hotel for a lifetime. Even if it is to check celebrity hotels, it is not something that city guards like them can do. Fortunately, after he asked the front desk, he learned that there was indeed a guest named Cassidy staying in the celebrity hotel. It's just that he can't go up directly without the permission of the guests. The front desk can only help pass some news, ask the wishes of the guests, and get the permission of the guests before he is qualified to go up to meet. To be honest, Dam was very disturbed in his heart, because even if Cassidy lived here, it was hard to say whether he still remembered this kind of big shot. But at this moment, there was a ding. The door of the suspended ladder opened, and a blonde young woman with a pure appearance and a good figure came out. And this woman went to the front desk to chat for a few words, and then walked in his direction. It was impossible for Dam not to be nervous when he saw this beautiful woman. "Mr. Dam, Mr. Cassidy said he still remembers you, and he is waiting for you above. Please follow me. I'll take you to Mr. Cassidy." Sonia was a little surprised when she saw Dam's clothes, but she still came to Dam and said very politely, "Does he remember?" Dam saw this beautiful woman coming in front of him, and when he heard these words, he was overjoyed and also a little shocked. "I didn't expect that such a small person like myself could really be remembered by this kind of big shot."